Geordie Journo's back outside the Newcastle United Media Centre. It's take two, Jordan.
Yes.
It's good to be back.
It is good to be
back. We were
back.
filming outside the back before, looking over the lovely pitch at Whitley Park, but a guy doing his job.
Yeah, he's doing his job, cutting the weeds around the pavement, around the pitch.
Yeah.
I suppose
it was oddly timed.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people think they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's been a 2-week international break, so the weeds haven't been done for a while.
Exactly. So. And there's games to be played.
There is.
Not for a few days, but games to be played then. We've also been polite, letting Craig Hope finish his video as well. So, yeah, shout out to him. But big talking point: Newcastle United, 2 weeks off for the international break and back in action at Brighton tomorrow. So we've been speaking to Eddie Howe, picking his brains ahead of that, getting the latest news surrounding Newcastle United. And where would you like to start, Jordan?
I think we should start on injuries. That used to be an absolute staple on this channel.
Yeah.
I think we've moved away from that.
Yeah, we tend to just waffle and see what sticks now. But yeah, injuries is always.
There's a few updates to get through, so we'll start with that. I think we'll start with the positives.
Yeah.
Jacob Ramsey back in the squad.
As expected.
Yes. Obviously returned to training ahead of the Nottingham Forest game, wasn't risks, and then has had 2 weeks training, so will be involved tomorrow. I think he is the only player coming back in. But in terms of the severity of some other players, which we sort of feared the worst, I'm talking about Lewis Hall, that is good news, Eddie Howe put it.
Very good news.
The first scan didn't look too tasty, suggesting that he might tasty.
Tasty scan.
Didn't look too tasty.
Eddie Howe's licking his lips at that scan.
Yeah, didn't look too tasty. I'm going to stick with that too. Suggestions that he would be out at sort of December time with a hamstring injury that he picked up against Union SG. But the second scan, which we spoke about in the previous video, sort of after 10 days or within 10 days, revealed much far better news.
Yes. It's more the 6 week, the earlier part, which from the initial injury that is. So 6 weeks from that initial injury, hopefully before that, just puts him the right side of the November international break. So that was positive. And Eddie Howe was fairly concrete on that. He was like, sooner rather than later with Lewis Hall, which is really positive. Such an important player. You've obviously got Tino Livramento out till the back end of November, which remains the case, as Eddie Howe touched on in the press conference as well. And I think the sooner Lewis Hall gets back to some sort of fitness, the better. But again, with the hectic fixture schedule coming up, we'll anticipate be seeing a bit more Dan Burn in the coming games at least.
Yeah, I mean you've got a player there with Lewis Hall, and it's fantastic now he's going to be back before the international break, but he's going to have to build his fitness up again. It's been a really stop-start from him. Starting those 2 games and missed out against Arsenal because of fatigue, and then comes off the bench against Union SG, picks up a hamstring injury, so you can tell he's not quite there in terms of his physical level. So he's a player that needs nursed.
Yeah, he does. He's still only young as well. I think it's easy to forget how young he is when you look at, say, talk about Dan Burn, who's an alternative. Alex Murphy's older than Lewis Hall. It's easy to forget that. Like, Lewis Hall is still such a young player, so it has to be managed, particularly when it comes to these lengthy injuries and then also reoccurring injuries, so they don't sort of dictate the early part of his career. No change on Tino. So as you say, Dan Burn at left back. Will Alex Murphy get the call up potentially the match day squad? But I think Eddie Howe will be sort of reluctant to throw Alex Murphy in at the deep end. He's never started a Premier League game. He's ever started a competitive game for Newcastle, apart from if you want to include friendlies or the Cellar Cup at St James's Park. But left back situation not ideal. You've got Dan Burn there, who's going to have to persist with. Potentially other options, I don't know. You've obviously got Kieran Trippier, etc. But no, moving on from that sort of area, going to the midfield. We'll step up in the midfield. Yeah. Do you want to come in midfield?
Yeah. Stepping up to the midfield, Joe Linton returned with what was reported as a groin injury. So I think Brazil have reported a groin injury to Newcastle. Joe Linton's came back and said, "No, not wrong with this. Not wrong with this."
We've been there before. Joe Linton, I don't think Joe Linton could have one leg and he'd still want to play.
He would, but he's due to train today, so I mean, imagine it goes well. Or if he does actually have a groin injury, he won't be involved tomorrow. But Eddie Howe expects him to be involved at Brighton. I obviously spoke about Jacob Ramsey. So Jacob Ramsey's had 3 weeks training. Joe Linton, hard travel. Same with Bruno, which we'll come on to as well. Yeah. The midfield area is one that you'd possibly rotate. I asked Eddie Howe about that. Typically give nothing away, but I think about all the midfielders. I think Joe Linton would be the most likely to be rested. I think Bruno will retain his place, and do you bring Jacob Ramsey straight back in, because although he hasn't played as much as he would have liked, obviously due to injury, he's had 2 weeks of training here, and Eddie Howe quite likes that with these players, having the players here. He quite likes to use them for the next game.
Yeah, so. It's interesting as well. Sandro Tonali, that was one of my questions, picked up like a slight knock, had to receive some treatment during the game. He got through the game against Israel on Tuesday night. Hasn't trained yet with Newcastle, but expected to train today, hoped to train today, and Eddie Howe said fingers crossed.
Yeah, he said he was.
So that's another just food for thought for Eddie Howe when he selected his midfield. He hasn't had Sandro Tonali training for 2 weeks.
Yeah, Tonali's fit, he plays, isn't he? It's simple as that. He's that important. But I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, he finished his game in Italy against Israel on Tuesday, and then hasn't returned to the training ground, as we're led to believe, until today, Friday. So, interesting. You'd usually expect him back on a Thursday. Look, it's quite. I suppose we're picking something out there that probably means nothing, but no, it is potentially one to keep an eye on. Yeah. But I think out of those midfield 3, I think reading between the lines, I think Joe Linton would be like the one that would drop out. And Jacob Ramsey, I think
it would be good to see him.
Yeah, I would like to see him
play, because we've been impressed on the very short sample size, very small sample size we've had so far, but he has been solid. And Joe Linton, if you're taking into account the travel he's had, the slight injury, whether Brazil aren't reporting an injury, if they're not looking it out of thin air anyway, as much as Joe Linton might say he's fine, you'd expect him to travel, but I think that gives Eddie Howe a decision to make, and Jacob Ramsey, if he's trained for a few weeks and is back to a decent amount of fitness, why not start him? There was also a couple of questions. One question wasn't asked about Lewis Miley, who withdrew from the England under-21 squad due to calf issue. As we understand it, he should be fine as well, but Eddie Howe didn't touch on that. And another player he asked about, Joe Willock.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I mean, big credit goes to Big Frank Chipper for the absolute chaos he causes on social media with these fake rumours. Everyone just laps up. It's quite incredible to see, actually. I mean, this isn't just the first time. So, obviously, I think everyone knows the story by now, but if you don't, Big Frank Chipper, prankster, Twitter prankster, ex-prankster, made up a story that Joe Willock had got stuck in York Maze for 6 hours and had to be rescued. And that made its way in Eddie Howe press conference today. Eddie Howe was asked about that today. And then Eddie Howe replied by saying, well, yeah, I had to ask Joe Willock to see if it was true.
That's brutal. That's like the fact Eddie Howe believed it. Not believed it, but there was enough doubt in his mind to think it could have been possible. And that was the beauty of it, because it's like, it was similar with the Matt Target stuff. It's like, yeah, it's so silly, but
I think it's scary that things people take that as facts. I think it's funny. It's quite light-hearted and stuff, and look, it's not serious matters. But it's scary how how much it can spread and how many people believe it. Like, millions of people are reading that. Made its way onto BBC Radio 1 this week.
They had to correct
themselves. It's quite incredible. But yeah, I think Joe Willock's fit for this weekend after he's not York Maze scare.
Not lost. But he didn't do himself any favours, if you've seen the video of measuring Nick Voltemore's height. And he just loses all control of a tape
He's like all the way up, yeah.
16 foot tall, it's like, not quite. But yeah, fair play to Joe Willock. Sounds like he's had a sense of humour about it all.
You would. It's quite funny, but as I say, I can't believe these things spread so, like, it's like wildfire, and people probably lap it up. Yeah. Honestly, you've got fans up and down the country, can't you? How about that Newcastle midfielder, Joe Willock? Stuck in York Maze. And Matt Target, he got left behind.
Oh well.
He went to Teesside Airport, Matt Target, instead of Newcastle. Right, keep on the theme of injuries.
Johan Wissel was asked about quite a bit, actually.
There's 2 striker injuries.
We'll touch on the other one. Willa Sula.
Yeah, Willa Sula nursing an ankle problem.
Yeah, but
so it's still fine to play, but Eddie Howe says he's not 100%.
Enough to highlight it.
Yeah.
So even less of an option if Willa Sula was even considered a rotation option for Newcastle. Johan Wissa's out, so it's Nick Woltemada's going to be the man.
Yeah, he will.
As you'd expect.
Yeah, does Willa Sula the only is he the only option from the bench rather than having to start games? It's a striker situation when you anyway, but it's really light.
Yeah.
And that's what the Willa Sula thing just highlights it. If he's not 100%, then it's like, well, Nick, we need you here.
Yeah.
You cannot get injured, so they're gonna have to look after him. But no, on Johan Wissa, well, as you were, I suppose, sort of dispelling the social media rumours today, which was important, which we spoke about on this channel. Last couple of videos that was your question.
Yeah, because we were speaking about it the other day, Liam wanting flesh on the bones of the Johan Wissa thing, and we got a bit of that, and I quite enjoyed Eddie Howe's response where he was like, look, there's been some misinformation about Johan Wissa, there has been talk about ACL and things like that, and he said, look, he's been managed fine. There was a bit of like, I don't think he's quite answered my question, so I followed it up, said, well, what's his actual injury? And he's PCL, posterior cruciate ligament, which sounds bad, but nowhere near as bad as an anterior cruciate ligament, which is, again, whenever you hear a knee injury and a player's out for a sustained amount of time, that's where your mind goes. That's the big fear.
It's a Sven Botman example. I'm scarred hearing about injuries from the Sven Botman situation, and how, I mean, where he was out for 3 months and then came back and clearly didn't look fit, and then all of a sudden, he got diagnosed with his ACL. Every time I hear about an knee injury, I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, a PCL, which, to be honest, I didn't know was a thing. Has a footballer ever been ruled out for a long time with a PCL? It's always a ACL.
I imagine there's probably been cases. Yeah.
Well, there probably has, but not that I know. But anyway, PCL, because he doesn't need surgery, it's the 8-week time frame. So he's back on the grass, which is a term I love. Back on the grass
means nothing.
Yeah, but he's back on the grass though, Dom. So that's a positive sign. He's gradually stepping up his return, Eddie Howe said.
It's a bit of spin saying back on the grass. We're back on the grass now. I could have a broken leg though. I don't.
You got crutches now. I'm joking.
Back on the grass.
No, but joking aside, he is back on the grass, and it looks like, he's still working towards that 8-week. Is it 8 weeks? Yeah. Time frame, which puts him sort of in contention for maybe the West Ham game, although suggestions that it'll be a week later. So you've got West Ham, Athletic Bilbao in the Champions League a few days later. So perhaps the Bilbao game. I mean, any three of those games. Next one after that's Brentford before the international break.
That's the big one, isn't it?
Yeah. So will he be back for? The suggestion is he'll be back for Brentford rather than the West Ham game, but can't rule that out yet.
Yeah, and then some big games for DR Congo. World Cup playoffs.
Yes.
So yeah,
which
Cameroon.
He was asked about how.
Yeah. Eddie Howe, I think, was very clever with his response, because I was driving in with Craig Hope actually, and I was speaking about, you want to get him on AFCON, like his priority, Eddie Howe's priority, and our priority is Newcastle United. It's not about DR Congo, it's not even about individuals, it's what's best for Newcastle United, and I have no doubt in my mind Eddie Howe wants Johan Wissa to stay in Newcastle United, but Eddie Howe can't say that, and he basically said, I'm not getting drawn into that. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be fair on Johan Wissa. He can't come out and publicly say, no, I don't want him.
I think it'll be the player's choice.
I think some difficult conversations have to be had.
But I think it'll be the player's choice. I think they'll put the onus on the player to make a decision. But if he is to be back for that Brentford game, you've got one game. So then you're going back to play with your country. So you've actually played more games for your country this season than you have for your club. And then you come back for another few weeks, and then you wait to AFCON.
Yeah. Jamal Lewis syndrome. He used to do that. Yeah,
he did. I know he did. But I mean, it's a tough one for Wissa himself, because it's like the dangling the carrot of a World Cup, isn't it? The World Cup's massive, to be fair.
Yeah, especially to DR Congo, who have they ever been to a World Cup before? Whereas AFCON, they were there 2 years ago, reached the semi-final. Look, they'll be looking to win it, and they want all the best players available. World Cup is huge to them, and as it is to any nation really. But I think if Newcastle say let Johan Wissa go away next month and say DR Congo qualify for the World Cup, they can use that almost as leverage to be like, right, well, can we keep him for that month that he was going to be away for AFCON? that's wishful thinking. I just think some tough conversations are going to have to be had over that, because look, we've said it many times in previous videos, Johan Wissa owes Newcastle United. They're the club who pays wages, and they took a lot of patience and paid a lot of money to eventually get him through the door.
Yeah.
And if they're not really going to feel any impact of Johan Wissa signing until really 2026, if we're being honest, because you'll be back for a bit, then away to AFCON again, if that indeed transpires, then we need to be sorting things out, getting things right.
I agree completely. So yeah, we'll wait and see how that situation plays out. Comments on Alan Shearer this week.
Yeah.
Echoing my thoughts.
Must have watched it.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as strong as me, but yeah, I agree with Alan Shearer.
Good. And on that note, we'll have a word from our sponsors, our growing list of sponsors, and if you're interested in getting on board with the Geordie Journos, links and emails and contact details all in the description below. But for now, here's a word from our sponsors. Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. All Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. For 21 years, JLM Travel have been offering great deals on package holidays and cruises. Plus low deposits and free kids places are available. Branches at Maingate, Team Valley and Front Street Wickham. RJ Building Surveyors is a trusted RICS accredited family-run firm with over 15 years of experience specialising in residential surveys and valuations. Based in Yorkshire, their expert services extend nationwide. Whether buying, selling or seeking peace of mind about your home, they've got you covered. So those were our 4 Geordie Journos sponsors, of course, links in the description below. And there's also the Geordie Journos shop. It's Christmas not too far away, Joe.
Yeah, we're pushing that
Halloween
again.
Not too far away, but you probably wouldn't.
Nah, you didn't want to follow Halloween, man. Although, you can get hoodies over 3 faces on, that's quite scary, do you think?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So if you fancy a Halloween costume,
you'll get it probably late, because Halloween's not too far away, so you might get it in time for Christmas. But yeah, another news which we actually haven't touched on during this international break, it's actually been very big news as far as Newcastle United are concerned, the appointment of a sporting director. And yeah, we've spoke about the appointment of Ross Wilson previously, but before he was in the building, he was always the likely candidate from quite early on in the summer after Paul Mitchell left. Now he's in the building, he's been appointed. Eddie Howe was asked about him today.
Yeah, a huge appointment for Newcastle, because there needs to become a period of stability now where, I mean, Eddie Howe sort of laughed about it, but it's two sporting directors in his 4-year period, but then I think it's
3 overall.
Three overall, yeah. And I think by the sounds of Eddie Howe knows Ross Wilson quite well. So although he said he wasn't totally involved in the decision process, I think he would have had a say, which is fair enough, because as I've always said, after winning that cup final and then going on to get Newcastle United Champions League football again, Eddie Howe is the most powerful person at this football club, and he deserves a sporting director that he's comfortable working with. And look, he's never said it, but it's clear he wasn't comfortable working with Paul Mitchell. I think he was comfortable working with Dan Ashworth, because I remember in a press conference he said the best thing Dan Ashworth did was he changed nothing.
Let
which
Eddie
is like,
Howe get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Paul Mitchell came in quite abrasive and was like, "Nah, we're doing it my way." And I'm sure Ross Wilson will want to do it his way, but there'll be more consideration towards the manager, and what direction he wants the football club to go in. So no, hopefully that's a good dream team, dream duo. Howe and Wilson instead of Howe and Tyndall, Howe and Wilson.
Throw back to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Callum Wilson.
Yes, I was thinking that was, yeah, of course, yeah. So no, a really important appointment. Eddie Howe said that as such. So, yep, plenty to get his teeth into, Ross Wilson.
Yes, because he was asked about transfers. Eddie Howe said, "Come on, he's been here a week. He's coming in. We need January signings."
Yeah.
No, but contracts are an interesting thing, because you're looking at Newcastle's squad. Obviously, they've been bitten by Alexander Isak's contract situation as such, even though he still had 3 years left, almost having that carrot dangled of a new contract. And then Paul Mitchell, has put Alexander Isak's nose out of joint, then wanted to leave the football club. Sandro Tonali has less than 3 years left on his contract. Sven Botman has less than 2 years left on his contract. And then you're looking at Tino Livramento, or also less than 3 years, young player. Kieran Trippier and Fabian Schär out of contract at the end of the season. Well. Nick Pope. There's a few things he's going to have to address and address quite quickly.
Yeah, definitely. In the short term, I mean, Fabian Schär, I think. Does Fabian Schär want another deal? I think this season for me is like the changing of the guard, and I think he'll know that as well. Yeah. So, but if I'm based on my opinion, I would like to see Fabian Schär get a new contract, a new 1 year contract. The same for Nick Pope as well. I wouldn't want to see Nick Pope walk away for free. Kieran Trippier, I think that's probably down to his sort of preferences, but based on what he's given to the football club, I would be giving Kieran Trippier an extension as well. It would only be a year, but I think he would deserve it. Yeah. So that's your short term, and I think in the long term, the players you mentioned there, Sven Botman is 2 years left. You said 2027.
Exactly. By the end of the season, you'll have 1 year left.
He continues to play the way he is, and you've got people sniffing around him again. So that's really, really pressing. And I would say the same for the Sandro Tonali situation as well, because as you touched upon there, the Isak situation, it's almost like scars you a little bit, where it's like, as much as you think you're safe and looking and going, he's got 3 years left on his contract, as the Isak situation played out, it can get a bit difficult if people, certain agents in football clubs, start getting in his ear. So the players get that sorted. I think it's quite a pressing matter. I would probably prioritise that over January signings, if I'm being brutally honest.
Who are you talking to first? Who are you wanting done first? If you're,
I think Tonali.
Wilson.
I think Tonali's a proper statement, getting him a new contract. I should mention Bruno as well. Bruno, I mean, I forget, because Bruno only signed his new contract a couple of years ago, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a couple of years ago. It doesn't feel like that, but it is. But he's out of contract 2028 as well. So there is a lot of high-profile big players in the squad that you just want tied up. You don't want to be in a situation again where you're panicking, or you're put in a situation like Alexander Isak put this football club in a situation where you used it as leverage, released a toxic statement accusing the club of broken promises and etc. You don't want that, and I would like to think no one in the squad would go that far, but at least just protect yourself. That's one thing I would say.
Yeah, and Tonali, come the end of the season, I'd argue Sandro Tonali's Newcastle's most valuable asset.
Yeah,
now,
I think so as well.
When you consider his age, his profile, the sort of level of player he is in his position as well. Like, Bruno's a few years older than him. Sandro Tonali, 25, one of the best in the Premier League in his position, I think it's fair to 100%. Say. And then, whereas Bruno's had the sort of tentative links to different clubs, and look, he never rules out, say, a Barcelona or Real Madrid when you ask him about that. But Sandro Tonali, it's quite persistent, the Italian media campaign, trying to be like,
he'll not go back to Italy if he leaves you.
No, I don't think they can afford it, but
no.
It's very persistent, the Italian media. Sandro Tonali wants to be back to Italy, or
it's like Newcastle Elliot Anderson, by the way. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent there, but you're right. But I think if Sandro Tonali leaves this football club, I'll not be going back to Italy.
No, I think eventually, he said he wouldn't rule it out.
Which is fine, but it'll be another move before he goes back there. I think so anyway.
I think so.
Unless AC Milan get taken over by, I don't know, PIF.
Let's hope not.
No. I'm deep the wealth. Although there's the PSR restrictions in Italy, who knows? I'm not sure. But yeah, I agree. Tonali's the one for me. He's probably he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Recognised sort of in the world now as well. He's pedigree. I don't see his pedigree's gone up, but since coming back from that ban, it's been a sustained period now where he's just been class.
Yeah.
And other clubs take note, so get him tied up.
Yeah, and then Sven Botman, I think you sort of monitor him, make sure he stays fit, and come January, if he's got a decent body of work under his belt this season and is playing consistently at a high level, which he has shown signs of so far this season, then get him tied down as well, because again, he's still, for a defender, very young, at 25. So hopefully, we've always said, or we've said in our past few videos, Malik Chow, Sven Botman, that's the future. You even look to the right, Tino Livramento, he's the future. I think those three, Lewis Hall put into that as well. We don't really know how long Lewis Hall.
Yeah, so that's the thing I would say actually. So football clubs, I don't know if it's just Newcastle, but obviously I only really read Newcastle club statements, and there has been over the last couple of years a decision not to include. It's been quite clear that there's been no contract length. It just says long-term deal.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, doing that, it's not great for us, but it stops us doing this.
Yeah.
So, well, he's only got 2 years. He's only 2 years. Yeah. I mean, you get a rough idea usually.
You can find things out. Lewis Hall's is slightly different because it was a loan move with an obligation to buy. So it was just like, we've bought him.
Yeah.
Now the actual terms of the contract never made clear.
Yeah, there is. You can sort of work it out long-term deal. You do get a sort of whisper of how long it is, but there's no official sort of confirmation these days.
Newcastle agree deals without even announcing them sometimes. As Dan Byrne, Kieran Trippier's another one.
Jamal Lascelles is one last year. It was like
Eddie Howe just let it slip in a press conference.
Eddie Howe signed an extension a couple of years ago.
Did like. So yeah.
Aye. Maybe Sandro Tonali Sven signed a new contract. No, he did. Eddie Howe did say that now Ross Wilson is through the door of those contracts.
Yeah.
Matters will become. Didn't say a priority, but he said they will be on the agenda.
Yeah.
But they are a priority. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, definitely, and hopefully Ross Wilson can show that sporting director now and get those deals tied down. That would be a good start for him. But moving on, we'll be down at Brighton. Oh, it's my least favourite away trip. Is it yours?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not happy.
Doing it on the day.
Yeah.
With Liam Kennedy, of course. Third Geordie journo. How are you feeling ahead of Brighton? What you're thinking and how you're lining up?
But I'm already feeling tired thinking about that 6 o'clock train in the morning.
Yeah. Oh well.
But it is what it is. Look, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to do it, of course, to be there. Maybe not up a tier press box, but we'll not come on to that.
Jordan has been fuming.
Yeah. I mean, it's first world problems. I'm not getting to it. But yes, actually,
here's your platform.
No, I'm not, because people will be going, shut up when you get in the game. And I am, so. But yes. I don't like going to Brighton. It's always a crap game. Newcastle never play well down there, apart from as I've seen the only win there, the 2-0 Modi Army.
A 2-1, wasn't it?
2-1, sorry, it was 2-1.
They scored first.
Yeah, they did. Glenn Murray penalty. So that's the only win I've seen down there. Newcastle, I would say, have probably stunk the place out most times I've went there. So hopefully that changes this weekend. But yeah, I don't feel the most optimistic. I think it's like, because I've seen so many bad performances, I'm struggling to believe I'll ever see a good performance down at Brighton. But Newcastle going into a bit of momentum, and then I think the international break came at a bad time. Maybe not in terms of little knocks around the squad and things like that, but because it won 2 out of 2, there was momentum building. But hopefully they can still carry that into the game. Newcastle drew all 3 of the away games in the Premier League 0-0. I'd take 0-0 tomorrow.
Would you?
Yes, I would.
Nah, we're better than that. We've got to be winning games.
No, I agree. But I think a point down there is a good point.
Yeah, it isn't bad. It's a similar thing to Bournemouth, but after the start Newcastle have had in the 0-0 draws, just get one over the line. They need to start actually racking up some points because they've got some tricky games coming up. I mean, you'd like to think Fulham at home, Brentford, West Ham, teams like that, they'd be able to pick some points up, but I think we need to be looking ahead and going, look, if we're serious about getting in Champions League, getting in Europe, beat Brighton. Be positive.
I like it. I like your positive attitude.
Do I think we will?
Yeah, I'm quite a pessimistic person, so.
Yeah. Do I think we will see a win? I'm not too sure.
No, don't change it now. Double down. We're going to win tomorrow.
No, well, I'm not predicting a win. I'm just saying I wouldn't take a draw. I need Newcastle United. We need Newcastle United to be more ambitious than that. Particularly after the start they've had, where it's been a bit stop-start and away from home, it has clicked defensively, but not at the other end of the pitch. It needs to click at the other end of the pitch, and hopefully it will. But how are Newcastle lining up? I think defensively, I mean,
I was trying to think of ways that could play a back 5. And is there a way you can play a back 5? Could you play Jacob Murphy right wing back, and then put Kieran Trippier left wing back? Then you'd have Dan Byrne, Botman and Chow as a 3.
I like it.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll do that. I just think you'll stick with the back 4. Dan Byrne at left back. Obviously Chow, Botman, Trippier. Midfield, I'm going to predict Jacob Ramsey to come back in place of Joe Linton, based off the feeling I'm getting from Eddie Howe's comments this morning. In midfield alongside Bruno and Tonali. And then I think the front 3 will be Gordon, Voltemada and Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, I think Jacob Murphy comes back in.
I think he does as well. I think it's a perfect opportunity to bring him back in. Again, a player that's been around the club for the whole of the international break. I know they had time off, but he's been here from the start of the week. So I think that'll be enough to bring Jacob Murphy back in. I think he deserves to come back in as well. Because Elanga, as I've said, hasn't quite done enough. I think Jacob Murphy has produced moments of quality. We're still waiting for it to click with Elanga. It's played well in the Champions League, so obviously they've got a Champions League game 3 days later, so Elanga potentially comes back in flat. But yeah, Murphy for me on the right.
Yeah, I think you look at it, is it almost a 2-game or even a 3-game segment and go, yep, going to change it up on the wing, potentially the midfield for these 2 games. I would like to see Jacob Ramsey come back in. Of course, we don't know exactly how fit he is. We don't know how fit Joe Linton is either, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Jacob Ramsey is a good decision to make, and bring the 2 Jacobs in. Get Murphy on the right wing as well. So yeah, I like the suggestion of a 5 at the back as such. I know people really dislike
I like the 5 at the back.
But I can't see Eddie Howe changing it from a team as much as people can say Dan Burn isn't a left back and he's not, and you'd imagine up against, say, Yankuba Minteh starts, that'll be a tough afternoon for him. But Eddie Howe's probably looking, he said previously how well Dan Burn's done at left back in his opinion, and Newcastle go into this game on the back of 2 clean sheets with Dan Burn at left back. So
there's been hairy moments for Dan Burn.
Definitely.
But look, that's not a criticism of him, that's because he's not a left back. But ultimately they find themselves in a position where they've got no one else. So yeah, Dan Burn plays at left back, we think.
But if there's concerns over, I'm just going back to your 5 at the back where you have Trippier and Jacob Murphy. If there's concerns over Joe Linton, then Jacob Ramsey's just coming back, do you just do a Bruno and Tonali midfield and then Voltemada and Gordon?
Yeah, Malik Chow play right back, right? This is what's going on, right? Sorry, I'm doing Malik Chow right back, right? Burn and Botman as centre halves, and Kieran Trippier as a left back.
Okay.
No, yeah. No, I think it'll be a back four with Burn at left back.
Let us know your thoughts, because we don't really. I mean, we think we know how Eddie Howe will line up.
I'm just trying to think of ways you could change it.
I don't think there's an answer that involves Dan Burn not playing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Totally agree.
So yeah, we'll be down at Brighton tomorrow. Hopefully, trains dependent.
Yeah, I don't like relying on the trains, man.
Yeah, especially on the day. There and back on the day as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long day.
Good fun.
But long days are made better if Newcastle United get 3 points. So fingers crossed.
And are made worse when they don't.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be speaking at the Amex or outside the Amex or maybe even on the train about a Newcastle win with our fellow Geordie journal Liam Kennedy as well. So thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe and ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journals content, and we'll see you at the Amex on Saturday.